Board of Trade's 2025 City Council Candidates Forum. My name is Jason Plotkin. I'm the CEO and Managing Attorney at the Pinter Plotkin Legal Team. I'm also the founder of GoBox.ai, and I serve on the Laurel Board of Trades. I am a director and the chairman of the Candidates Forum. Our moderator for this evening will be Pamela Hunter. Pamela's experience includes a small business administration, the Chief Administrative Office of the United States House of Representatives, the Office of the Circuit Court Executive for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District Court of Columbia and the District Columbia Courts. She currently serves as the Executive Director of the National Association for the Court Professionals for Black, Indigenous, and Peoples of Color. She's got such a resume, I had to bring my glasses on for that one. I wanted to make sure I gave her all her flowers. And Pamela, we really appreciate you coming here tonight. Closed captioning is available via the televisions outside the passport office, right around the corner. If you need assistance, you can ask anybody and they'll show you where that area is. Before we go into tonight's questioning, I want to make a couple of disclaimers. No candidates have prior knowledge of the questions. And as a nonprofit 50c6, the Laurel Board of Trades endorses no candidates, and our only participation is to help bring this voice to the people this evening. We have a committee that selected questions that were submitted by city residents via email, social media, and some of the ones the committee has come up with itself. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, so I want to make sure I thank the Laurel TV crew. They do a tremendous job for this event. They really help keep everything on track, and we really appreciate for everything they do for us and for the city of Laurel. I'd also like to thank the Laurel Board of Trade for organizing this event, and want to make sure you follow us on social media, Laurel Board of Trades. It's the best way to find out about new and exciting activities for residents and business owners throughout the community. I want to make a couple of notes of some new events, or not new events, but upcoming events. The Main Street Trick or Treat is next week, October 30th. That's always an amazing event. It's packed. The pictures there are just amazing. It shows how much fun it is. I also want to give everybody a save the date reminder. If you follow us on social media, you've heard about it, but we have moved the Main Street Festival to May 2nd, and that is to make room for the Preakness, right? We want to make sure that we make it easier on the city for all the resources to be there for everybody they need, so we've moved our date for this year. Preakness is a tremendous opportunity for the city. With that said, let me outline the ground rules for this evening. Each candidate will begin with a 2-minute opening. The opening should address why the candidate is running for office and the 3 top priorities for their term in office. We will then go on the questions that Pamela Hunter will ask each candidate. The candidates will be selected by random, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question, and then a 30-second rebuttal if needed after all the candidates have answered questions. The rebuttal must address the other candidate's answer. We can't go off on a tangent. It's just to be responsive to that. We will uphold the timing throughout, and Laurel TV will assist with shutting off a microphone if need be. But we have a great group up here, so I don't foresee any problems. I'm just outlining the ground rules. That's the lawyer in me. All right? So when a candidate gets close to their time, goldenrod piece of paper from our chairman, Jim Cross, will show that you have 15 seconds left, and a red piece of paper will show that time is up. That'll be a cue to everybody as to when they can answer. Opening statements will be given in order from the left side. So we'll start on that left side, from Pamela Hunter's left side. So Councilman Mills will begin, and the questions will then be asked in random order once she's done. All right, we have a great group here. As remember, if you are registered to vote, vote. If you're not registered to vote, register to vote, then vote. So without anything else, I'm going to welcome Pamela Hunter to take control.
Good evening, everyone. Let's get ready to have some fun tonight and give the citizens of Laurel an opportunity to hear from you. We're going to start again with opening statements, and we'll start to my left. Mr. Mills.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Laurel Board of Trade. I'm going to make a statement, but then I'll recuse myself because I'm running uncontested. So I just want to kind of save the time for everybody so we're not here all night. So my statement is, first, let me take a moment to thank Laurel Board of Trade for creating a platform where candidates can speak directly to people, to the voices that matter most, This is the essence of community democracy, when we gather not just to debate ideas, but to build bridges between them. When I was elected to serve as Council President Pro Tem, I made a commitment not to titles or policies, but to the people of Laurel. Every day since, that's been a guiding principle. Over the past years, I've worked alongside developers and residents on projects that move Laurel forward, like the Westside Shops development, a project that means new jobs, local growth, and more opportunity for our residents. And with the Conterra project soon to rise adjacent to this great city, I'm already thinking proactively how we can prepare Laurel's workforce, strengthen our infrastructure, and make sure our city benefits from the economic expansion, not just watch it from the sidelines. That's why I organized not one, but 2 citywide job fairs, connecting residents with employers, bringing businesses to the table, and helping people get back to work. Because opportunity shouldn't be a slogan, it should be a system. As chair of the Public Safety Transportation Committee, I've been the duty project for the residents, and to protect the residents, and to honor those who protect us. From creating new strategies to boost volunteer recruitment for Laurel Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department, to support tax incentives to our police and fire personnel. I've worked to ensure our first responders feel valued and supported. But public safety doesn't stop at a badge or siren. It includes every person who helps keep our community running. That's why I fought for tax incentives and support for teachers, bus drivers, bus aides, and school system workers, everyday heroes who guide, protect, and nurture our children. I've also voted for grants and incentives for new home buyers and small businesses, because we can't have a thriving city without helping families plant roots and entrepreneurs grow dreams. As a council member, I'm proud that we've balanced a $46 million budget without raising taxes. I've brought the community together through programs like Safe Summer and Fall Nights program, where we teach and inspire our youth to stay safe, stay active, and stay hopeful. And because service should also celebrate spirit, I'm proud to have I'm proud to have had a program such as the first Father's Breakfast and the Father's Day Breakfast, founded the Pushed Into Purpose Conference, and to soon launch the Respect Women's Expo in 2026. Events that remind us of who we are and what we stand for. So in closing, I just want to say, together we have proven that the progress isn't a promise, it's a practice. And I promise to keep practicing it, and every single day for you, the families of the city of Laurel, and for the future we're building together. Thank you, and may God bless this great city of Laurel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Laurel Board of Trade for once again hosting a candidate forum. I'm Brenton Smith, and I'm honored to be here tonight as a candidate for the Laurel City Council at large. I've had the privilege of serving on the city before as council member from 2019 to 2023, and during those years as council president from 2021 to 2023. During that time, I worked to make sure Laurel moved forward with both purpose and accountability. We've passed balanced budgets, strengthened public safety, modernized our ethics and traffic codes, and championed initiatives like the plastic bag ban, organics recycling, and our city's first Afro-Caribbean festival that was hosted by me. That brought thousands to Laurel by the Lake that helped celebrate our diversity. Professionally, I've spent more than over a decade in accounting and finance. Over the past 6 years, most recently as a senior financial analyst working with an engineering firm in the transportation industry. I've balanced billion-dollar capital programs, budgets, and I balanced billion-dollar capital programs in the transportation industry. That experience taught me how to find solutions, manage resources wisely, and deliver results last. But beyond titles and numbers, my focus has always been simple: to serve people, build trust, and make government work better for our community. I'm running because Laurel needs experienced, steady, and trusted leadership. Someone who understands the issues, has proven results, and is ready to keep us moving forward from day one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Simmons, and I'm running for a re-election for Ward 1 council member. In preparing thoughts for this evening, I revisited sort of the 4 commitments I had made when I first took the oath in July of 2024, so just about 14 months ago. And it was sort of fourfold. 1, to help craft legislation and evolve Laurel's policies so that they serve the community well. The second one was to be a good steward of our monies as the city finance that we've been entrusted by the residents, by the citizens of Laurel. Thirdly, to serve as a personal connection for residents can reach out to for answers to questions they may have and to know that their voice is heard. And fourthly, to support the many good works being done by folks all throughout the city. These are, for me, the touchstones I return to time and again over the course of in office and should I be able to continue in office to serve the city of Laurel. The themes that are important to me that you'll also see in my campaign materials are about community, competency, and caring. I hope to be able to talk a little bit about more of those tonight as the time goes on. Building community, being able to bring my experience, and also showing a care and concern for each individual in our town. Just a real short bio. I'm 47. I've lived in Laurel my entire life. I grew up in South Laurel, and now I live in Ward 1. I'm a CPA. I've worked in Laurel for 23 years. My office is on Main Street with individuals and small businesses throughout that time. Married to my beautiful wife, Kathy. We have 4 little guys, aged 8 and under, all boys. I love letterpress printing and dark chocolate, not milk chocolate, dark chocolate, even on my s'mores. Again, I look forward to having a chance to talk further this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for coming out tonight or tuning in online. I know this election is smaller than the previous one, but it is just as important, and it truly warms my heart to see everyone out engaged in the community. I would also like to thank the Laurel Board of Trade for providing this forum and Laurel TV for making it accessible to everyone. My name is Christine Johnson, and I'm honored to serve as your councilwoman at large. I'm running for re-election because I'm proud of the progress we've made together and because there's still more work to do. I'm a wife of 23 years, a mom of 2 young adults, a daughter to a feisty Brooklynite who's out in the crowd tonight, and a longtime community advocate who's passionate about keeping Laurel a great place to live, work, raise a family, mature as a person, and of course, have fun, all things of which I have done here in Laurel. So during my first term, which I like to dub my learning term, I dedicated myself to understanding the inner workings of municipal government so that I could serve you better. I completed courses through the Academy for Excellence in Local Governance, met with leaders from other municipalities to share ideas, and asked questions of my colleagues, staff, and residents alike. My colleagues asked a lot, huh? I also had the privilege of serving as chair of the Public Safety and Transportation Committee, chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee for Senior Residents and Persons with Disabilities, and also helping to expand that one also. And I was a member of the Clergy Advisory Committee. That was then, and now I want to continue building on that foundation. As we move forward, my focus remains on transparency and accountability in every aspect of city government, which I believe me and my colleagues have done very well, some more than others, but we've done a good job of being transparent and letting you know what's going on. Caring for our most vulnerable citizens, promoting literacy and lifelong learning, attracting and supporting diverse people and businesses, and most importantly, listening to you, because Laurel's success depends on the voices and visions of the people who call it home. It's been an honor to serve over the past 2 years, and I humbly ask for the opportunity to continue working for you for a stronger, more vibrant, and inclusive Laurel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyla Clark, and thank you as well to the Laurel Board of Trade for hosting tonight's conversation. Your incredible work for our business community is really commendable, and we appreciate you. I also want to recognize and honor Marilyn Johnson. She is truly missed tonight. I'm your current city council member for Ward 2 and council president, but titles aside, I'm your neighbor and your voice in the city. I've lived here for over 11 years, and I love Laurel. I know you've probably seen me in my I Love Laurel t-shirt constantly. Before I was elected, I served on Laurel committees because I believe in showing up and fighting for what's right. During my term since 2023, I chaired the Environmental Affairs Committee and served on the Juneteenth Committee because environmental justice and racial justice are inseparable. I am now the chair of the Multicultural Committee and serve on the Planning Commission and Education Advisory Committee. All spaces where I work to ensure equity and inclusion aren't just buzzwords, but real priorities that shape our policies. My vision for Laurel is simple but powerful. I want us to be a city where everyone can thrive, not just survive. What my vision looks like is a city that's financially strong and independent, where we're not at the mercy of whatever's happening in Washington. Second, a city that's truly safe and welcoming for everyone, where every resident, no matter where they were born, what language they speak, or what they look like, feels like they belong here. And third, a city where your voice matters, where government isn't something that happens to you, but with you. Our city's motto is progress through people, not through luck or happenstance, but through people. That's what I believe, the hard work and dreams of business owners like you who make Laurel what it is. So I'm running for re-election to be your partner, cutting red tape, supporting revitalization, and keeping taxes reasonable. Progress through people is our motto, and that's my commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your opening statements. We are now going to jump into our questions for the evening. So the first question, I'm going to read that, and if you need me to repeat the question, please don't hesitate to ask me to do so. Could you please share an overview of your educational background and employment history, highlighting any particular experiences you feel are relevant to your candidacy? I'm going to start with you, Mr. Smith.
I went to school for organizational management. I've worked in accounting and finance, as I've mentioned before, over the past 10 years. Most recently, I'm a senior financial analyst consultant, working in the transportation industry, of course, looking at $1 billion capital programs for the DC metro area. That expertise I have in that area can help us look at the budgets, and also, of course, it will help us to drill down and look at how we can use our tax revenue dollars to work for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, thank you. So a little bit of my educational background. Actually, I went to elementary school at James H. Harrison in South Laurel, to Kettering for middle school, and then for DeMatha for high school. But I went for college to Loyola up in Baltimore, and that's where I studied accounting and also sat for my CPA exam at that time back in 2000, many moons ago at this point. Went to work for KPMG, one of the big four public accounting firms, out of the Baltimore office as an auditor. And then in 2002, I left KPMG and joined up with my dad, who was also CPA, sort of founded a firm here in Laurel in 1977. So I joined him in 2002. And in 2008, we moved the company, two of us, to Main Street, and where we've been ever since. I officially sort of bought him out in 2014, and the firm I now own and run there. But that experience of one, having met and learned and listened and helped people from all around Laurel for over 20 years at this point, I coach small businesses. I've audited companies. I've audited municipalities. I've prepared financial statements, made budgets, done forecasts. Talking to both the human side of the equation, but also and the financial side of the equation. So I think that perspective is something I'll be able to bring to the decisions we make, whether they're bids, their budgets, whether they're strategy, whether they're conversations, even collaborations. I've sat on various foundations and things like that, and finance advisory councils. So the ability to also work in groups. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was red. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
So I'm a lifelong PG County resident. I graduated high school from Eleanor Roosevelt High School. I started college at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and then I came back home and finished up at College Park and received a bachelor's degree in sociology. Then I went on to do decades of administrative work in various industries: telecom, banking, technology, event planning, federal and city government, publishing books, church and nonprofit. So a wide range of areas that I'm familiar with administratively. So I think, and then I worked 9 years at the City of Laurel, here at the Communications Department, again as an administrative assistant, but also as the front desk receptionist, passport agent, and I was able to host a couple shows, Service in Action, Meet the Author, and Council Connections. So a little familiar with the City of Laurel government, but I think my background in education and work taught me about the culture of people and society. So at the core, I think I know like who people are and how to deal with them. And my administrative work helps me with editing, organizing, and planning.
Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. My educational background started at an HBCU. Extremely proud to have attended Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. I then received my MBA in International Marketing and Global Business. I am consistently a marketing and communications consultant. However, I've worked with corporations to lead their marketing, public relations, and communication efforts. Some individuals that I have had the pleasure and opportunity to work for, I was a regional representative and communications lead for a U.S. Senator on Capitol Hill. I also worked for the Department of Commerce, Department of Justice, Department of Transportation, and nonprofits such as the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I believe that I have had the opportunity to contribute communication expertise to enhance the residents' awareness of what's happening in the community and to communicate better with our colleagues, which is important.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to move to the second question. And we're going to start on my right this time. With the Preakness Stakes relocating to Laurel Park in 2026 during Pimlico's renovations, what strategies would you propose to maximize economic benefits for local businesses and residents while mitigating impacts like traffic congestion and public safety concerns?
I think that's a great question. I'm very excited about Preakness coming to the city of Laurel and the Laurel area. I think it can be a tremendous opportunity if planned correctly. I believe that, like I said, communication is important. Therefore, meeting ahead of time with local business owners, small businesses, our Laurel Board of Trade, and other nonprofit organizations so that they can provide feedback and input on how we can maximize this effort. It's not for us to do it alone, it's for us to collaborate. Also with neighboring counties, such as Howard County, Anne Arundel. So we're on the same page. I said yesterday in our candidate conversation that it's important, even though we aren't on the same lines, we are right next to each other and we can maximize this effort together. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
So I too look forward to the Preakness coming. I think it'll be a great opportunity to spotlight Laurel as a great place to work and live. I believe that we should continue working with Anne Arundel County. I know that we are, I'm glad that we're at the table. I know a couple of our directors and different organizations within the city are at the table and they're talking about and being included in the planning that's going on. So I'm glad that we are there and hopefully they will disseminate that information. And again, so that the businesses can take full advantage, like we have enough time, we know what's going on. I think that we should do a good job in planning for that.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, thank you. A couple ideas are floated around. I think as Councilwoman Johnson alluded to, the city does have a committee, so thankfully we are at that table and part of the process. An idea I've circulated even and talked to some folks about is it would be neat to have some sort of display that would draw people to Main Street. So maybe some sort of horse either outside or in the windows to say, hey, come down Main Street, see what we have, tour along, check off your box, and in the process, spend some money while you're here and patronize the local businesses. That's something to throw in the mix. That collaboration, as I mentioned, is important. One other thing I think also is for us to use an opportunity to capture that history. And maybe one of those horses, one of the idea was it becomes like a permanent monument somewhere, because Laurel Park has been a big part of the identity, even though it's technically outside of the city limits. So I can think that could be something for us to be mindful of.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
As they all have said, of course, collaboration, working with the mayor's administration and the team they've already set together to see how we could move forward with, of course, the Laurel Board of Trade. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mills, are you wanting to weigh in? Thank you. I want to give you an opportunity. All right. Thank you. So we're going to move to the next question, and we're going to start with Ms. Johnson and then work our way back. So the third question is, what strategies would you implement to support small and emerging businesses in Laurel, particularly those facing challenges from store closures like Shoppers, to ensure sustainable economic growth?
So for the small businesses in the city, I would like to highlight the mayor's, new business grants available. So we are looking to bring new businesses to the city. And for those that are currently here, I think we need to, gather around and meet around the table and find out what the needs of those businesses are so that we can work together to make sure that we're meeting those needs, whether it's, staffing, different resources that are available. We just need to meet together and talk to find out what it is that we can do as the city administration to help the businesses stay and thrive here in the city.
Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, thank you. A couple different levels. Part of it is things that the city can do in terms of streamlining our support and make it easy to access the types of programs that we do have. Sometimes we have some programs, but it's hard to be aware of them, or even when you get the paperwork, it's hard to make sense of it. So making that as easy as possible. But I think a big role we can play as well is to connect people to other resources that already exist. So for instance, over this past year, we was able to spend time with the Maryland Black Chamber of Commerce who came into town, support our businesses. I've connected them. There's also economic development through the PG County, being able to connect to that. So for those businesses that are perhaps struggling or sort of new, being able to link them up with these resources that are available at the multiple levels, and the Laurel Board of Trade being one of those as well, I think is a way we can support them and see them forward.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. What strategies would you implement to support small and emerging businesses in Laurel, particularly those facing challenges from store closures like Shoppers, to ensure sustainable economic growth?
So, like they've mentioned before, we've always had grant programs. So, of course, pushing those out and getting that messaging out that they know that it's there. But also, more than that, making the areas beautiful. I spoke about this before when I ran for mayor, and I'll speak about it again, running for the council. You need to make the place look beautiful. I mean, the aesthetic matters. And so I believe if we can focus on making sure our Main Street looks up to par and our shopping plazas look up to par, working with the owners to make it beautiful. Of course, we already have the grants, so there's money for them. But that will also attract people and make other businesses that want to anchor themselves here. And of course, that will spill over into the small businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you for the question. I love what my colleague said in regards to grants. I think we need to build on more grants, though, especially with the inconsistency that we currently have with the White House. We want to make our city more sustainable financially so that the local businesses can come to us when they need us. In addition to that, I think what I find is that communicating consistently with our business owners, a lot of times the shops and the business owners just leave. And then I'm asking them, why did you go to Greenbelt, or why did you go here? Well, no one came and checked on me. I didn't have a way. So I think it's important for us to consistently communicate with these businesses to see if they need help, how they're doing, checking in, and also creating local events. I mentioned one last night in regards to the wintertime. I always go to DC where they have tents and they have hot chocolate and different things. I think this will consistently provide financial support to our businesses on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we're going to move to the next question, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Simmons. What initiatives would you back to address workforce shortages affecting Laurel's businesses?
Yeah, one of the items that came up over this last year was the Job Corps program, just on the outer edge of Laurel, to provide training for the different types of jobs that are here. I think there's a lot of reskilling that's going on, as the economy evolves and different types of jobs sort of open and other types of jobs close. So the mayor has actually championed a lot of those types of programs too, to be able to sort of equip people with skills that are marketable and sort of in demand. So definitely it's been something I've been happy to support this past year, and will continue to sort of actively look for ways to support these types of programs, to promote them, to share them.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Building on, just like Councilman Simmons said, along with the mayor, when he was a council member, I long supported our apprenticeship programs, which we funded to help with training for jobs. So I would look to do that, of course, and then, of course, bringing in other resources outside of the county and outside of our city to bring a job fair and having a hub, just like at our multi-service center, which they already have done. So I think I'm capitalizing on that, but making sure we're bringing companies that people are really looking to work at, not just in the customer service industry, but even in a professional corporate model as well.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you. Regarding the initiatives to help Laurel businesses that are short on staff, one, I think Councilmember Mr. Simmons, he mentioned in regards to the mayor's programs that he has, such as reentry programs, which are great to provide job opportunities. In addition to that, I would love to see our Laurel businesses have the ability to connect with our economic development department, perhaps to provide them with the openings that they have and promote them on our City of Laurel website and our social media channels. It helps to market those because sometimes they don't have the energy or the funds to do so. In addition to that, I also created an Instagram to help not only our residents, but our local businesses called Jobs Laurel MD on Instagram, to where I've been helping for over a year now to promote those local Laurel businesses on how, when they have openings and when job opportunities are available. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
Also, like others have mentioned, just wanted to highlight the things that we currently have in place, again, which is the Returning Citizens Grant for the businesses. So it'll give them money to hire returning citizens to get them in the workforce, and also different apprenticeship programs, starting with children at a younger age so that they can learn the skills in order to get a job. But then also taking advantage of our multi-service center, because we do have training opportunities, resources that can come there and utilize that space. We have the place for them. We have the place for businesses to come and people to come to learn the skills that they need to do better in the workforce.
Thank you. So on to our next question, and this time we're going to start with you, Mr. Smith. What is your position on the proposed 2.5% tax on business services, and how would you balance expanding business tax revenue with avoiding undue burdens on local entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm a little indifferent on it. I'd have to look over that more at what their plan is. So I wouldn't want to give you a firm answer on how I feel on that right now.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, the same question.
Thank you. Do you mind repeating it?
Not at all.
I appreciate it.
What is your position on the proposed 2.5% tax on business services, and how would you balance expanding business tax revenue with avoiding undue burdens on local entrepreneurs?
I do agree with Mr. Smith. I love to see more information, to have more dialogue, to understand both sides. However, as a small business owner, I understand how expensive it can get. But I do understand the tax side as well. I think it's important to look for financing and other avenues to try to offset some of those costs, whether that's offering additional funding opportunities to those businesses if we do need to increase. So we're not just taking, but we're able to provide back, able to offer something that kind of mitigates that cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
And also, unfortunately, I'm not totally familiar with that, but just looking at the question that you posed, the proposed 2.5 tax on business services. I'm just thinking of ways that the businesses and the administration can work together, almost like a give and take, as opposed to just taxing a business, like maybe tax for a certain thing, and we provided service. So trying to find a way to have a balance as we do taxes, but also give a particular service. So I too would need to look more into it, but I would look for us to collaborate and find a way that works best for all parties involved.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yes, to my knowledge, Laurel is not proposing a 2.5% tax on business services, and I might not just have all the information that's completely possible. Perhaps this question is alluding to the fact that the state of Maryland added a sort of sales tax earlier this year, and they did want to levy it because of the state budget shortfall. They did want to levy it across the board on all business services. I was actually down in Annapolis in January lobbying against this. I have small business customers that would have been impacted. In the end, the state narrowed it to just being digital services, which I still don't think was smart, but at least it wasn't your photographer, your professional, your contractor, and things like that. So advocating for small businesses and helping them to be able to thrive and contribute to the community, to employ others, definitely something I support, but hopefully those comments are helpful to the question.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we're going to move to the next question, and this time we're going to start with you, Ms. Clark. What is your vision for revitalizing the Route 1 and Main Street business corridors?
Thank you for the question. I would love, and I've mentioned this many times on the Planning Commission as well, to see more sit-down restaurants. I believe it really brings families together. We have a lot of to-go opportunities, but want to bring that back home so that the youth either are back around their family or with friends. In addition to that, I would love to see an additional grocery store since Shoppers, is leaving. I think it's important for us to not have food insecurities or issues where people can get groceries. In addition to that, opportunities for our youth to engage, whether that looks like an entertainment center area, and something of that nature. I'm not sure what the kids love these days. Main event, they love different ones. But I would love for them to have more opportunities to stay within the city of Laurel instead of them having to go all the way to DC. Very similar to Blue Sunday that just opened up very close to us. Wonderful opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
I would like to see art and the beautification of Main Street and Route 1. I think we have an arts council and an arts district. I think we can utilize them to make it beautiful, like Mr. Smith mentioned. I think the aesthetics make a difference in how a community looks. Also, there are a couple of stores that appear closed during the day, and I think we need to look at ways to encourage them to remain open and be available for the customers that they serve, and then have a variety of different businesses, not a whole lot of one particular business, but different variety of businesses along Main Street and Route 1.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, great question. I know the Main Street one is one we've been working on for a long time. In my opinion, a lot of the infrastructure of Laurel can be refreshed, and it's really a matter of how do we do things to attract investment. There's multiple sides this can be done from. I'm looking into a couple of them currently and meeting with folks to sort of see how do we attract investment. I actually did a tour of historic Snow Hill, which is on the eastern shore, and now they've been able to revitalize some of their downtown. I look to sort of bring some of that model into Laurel. Something I'm actually currently working on as well is pulling together the Main Street business owners to do a joint marketing collaborative to sort of say, hey, how can we band together to sort of promote Main Street as a destination? Part of that creates momentum, and each little bit sort of contributes. It's not going to be a silver bullet. It's going to be a multi-sided effort. What can businesses do? What can the city do? How can we work together to sort of see that grow? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
I spoke about this in my literature, and I'm very passionate about it. I believe we could, again, revitalize our Main Street by, first of all, redeveloping even the bottom half of it, finding a way, bringing all the stakeholders to the table, and redeveloping it all the way down to the MARC station to capitalize on the people passing through. We have people hopping on the train, me as one, going to DC, and we're going to work and we're coming back. You should be able to come off the train and walk straight up Main Street and have something to eat, which we do have restaurants, but it needs to be aesthetically pleasing. of course, to make people want to wander up there that don't live here, that don't know anything about it. Our shopping plazas, they can do better. We can work with the shopping plaza owners to bring quality stores and, of course, make it look aesthetically pleasing. That stuff matters. That helps drive down crime. That helps make people feel safer. You know, and I think if we can focus on that, as well as working with our county partners in the state, because Route 1 is a state, I believe we can make a change.
Thank you. So for our next question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Johnston. What incentives would you propose to encourage property owners to utilize programs like the Main Street Facade Improvement Grant or other redevelopment resources?
So as far as incentives to those owners, I think we need to let them know that they're available. If they don't know, they won't apply. And then I think Mr. Simmons has alluded to it a couple times too. We need to make sure the process is not impeding the people getting the grants. So again, I learn from my colleagues and I listen, and I think we can work together to make it better. So just making sure they're aware of them and making the process to get them much easier.
All right, Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, a lot of that happens. You can create a program, but it's really the one-on-one relationship that often leads to a change. So I think it's putting in the effort to spend time with the particular property owners and to even be willing to walk them through it. I mean, again, as a CPA, I help people fill out forms for a living. I help people sort of step through processes like that, and certainly am happy to sort of take that time and effort to sort of help step somebody through facade grants or other things to be able to enhance the ability to do business and sort of the thriving businesses we have on Main Street.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
I basically can just stand on what they've said. And, of course, making it easier for the owners and the business owners and the businesses there, bringing it to them. You know, sometimes a lot of them owning a business can be crazy and you don't have a lot of time. Making it easier for them to access the information, having events where they can, I know the Laurel Board of Trade does a lot, but also the city working with them even more to make sure that our information is there and being a walk-through process with them and letting them feel seen and heard throughout the process.
And finally, Ms. Clark?
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues. Open dialogue is very important, especially for business owners. They have questions, ongoing changes that may occur, and they need to know who they can go to answer those questions that they have, so they can get real-time answers. I also would love to see more opportunities for the business owners to be able to come to City Hall on a regular basis, have more forums, opportunities for them to learn about grants. I connect with a lot of the residents, and I usually share a lot of the funding opportunities that come out that they may not know about. We have a lot of artists and individuals, salon owners, but they may not know about these opportunities. So I would love to see that ongoing. In addition, our ECD department does a great job on ramping up a lot of the events to connect with our business owners. I would love to see that continue. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our next question, we're going to start with you, Mr. Simmons. How will you work to ensure that local small businesses are not unduly burdened by the permitting requirements, referencing the recent controversy over the use and occupancy permit fee?
Yeah, great question. I am currently right now in the process of exploring legislation to update our use and occupancy permitting process. I believe there's a real opportunity here, one, to modernize that permit to allow those who are in shared spaces to be able to have a more simpler use and occupancy process. I'm talking with a couple different jurisdictions, and also save the city time and energy. So there's no need, we need to do 31 fire inspections for one location to have 31 different fees. So I think it's both good for business and even better for use of city resources to streamline that. So I'm actively working on that right now.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Just as Councilman Simmons said, I would look over the current policy and see how we can make it smoother so we're not being redundant. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to also look over this legislation with my colleague, Councilmember Simmons, and other colleagues as well. I spent a large amount of time speaking with the business owners at the Phoenix Salon. In addition, you may have seen a CPR training that we did recently. I requested that from the city and the administration in collaboration and at request of the Barbershop Association. They wanted the business owners to feel safer and to be able to provide a safe environment for the people and their clients. And so we did have that for the business owners, only at a $20 fee for the certificate. And I attended, and Councilmember Mills was there as well. But I will continue to work with the business owners to understand their needs, their concerns, to have an ongoing dialogue, whether we agree or not, but I think their input is valued and it's needed. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure. Similarly to what others have said, I think we just need to, again, take a look at the legislation because needs are changing. Businesses, different business models are happening, which is why this has come up before. So instead of being reactive, try to be more proactive. We're looking at the legislation and making sure that we're addressing the needs of the current business models that are popping up.
Thank you. So moving on to our next question, we're going to start with Mr. Smith. How will you leverage Laurel's proximity to major employers and thoroughfares to attract high-quality commercial tax revenue that lessens the burden on residential taxpayers?
So we have Conterra coming. I can say, I know with the previous council, majority of us were interested in annexing that into the city. Also, of course, making events that attract people to our area to make other large businesses want to come to our city, of course, because of our traffic and our foot traffic. We can capitalize on that. We have the MARC station right there. Again, it's a hub where people are passing through every day, whether they're teleworking or going to work 5 days a week. So we can capitalize on that right now if we look at, again, the beautification of our shopping plazas, attracting larger stores, and the larger companies that will come around this area, because when Conterra is built, we don't want to be left behind. We want to make sure we're right there with it. We don't want a different Main Street they're going to go to over there. We want to keep them here as well. So we want to make sure we're right there with them on the edge.
All right. Ms. Clark, same question.
Yes, thank you. Oh, good, you can hear me. First, I think it's important to understand the needs of the current business owners, so we can retain that talent, we can retain those business owners. I don't like starting outside first and then bringing new people in. Let's start with who we have, make sure that they're okay first, and then people will come as they see how well our business owners here are treated. In addition to that, a lot of our business owners don't even live in the city of Laurel. They live very far away. I would love to see them not only own businesses, but live here as well, so that they don't have to then drive an hour just to get home, but that they can live, work, and play here in the city of Laurel. So those are the two top things that I really would love to see happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Certainly. How will you leverage Laurel's proximity to major employers and thoroughfares to attract high-quality commercial tax revenue that lessens the burden on residential taxpayers?
I guess we just need to, have the conversation with the businesses that we're interested in coming into the city. Like you mentioned, the proximity is great. We're right in between Baltimore and DC. We have the train station that runs, to DC. So I think that if we, like I said, meet with the businesses, have the conversation to what they need, and see if we can meet the needs so that we can attract those businesses.
Thank you, Mrs. Simmons. Same question.
Yeah, and in my mind, this goes a little bit to the earlier question too around the Route 1 corridor, because I believe there's a lot of opportunity to redevelop spaces along that corridor to bring in these sort of high-quality commercial spaces. Folks may remember even about, I think it was 7 years or so ago, there was a really nice design plan for something to happen on Route 1, and it just sort of evaporated. My understanding is there was some problems with how the foundation had to be laid. But that's where, if you want to attract investment, you need to have laid the groundwork, sometimes quite literally, in terms of the infrastructure that you have. And then you also have to be actively attracting those people to come. You also be designing an infrastructure. So you want to be able to, let's say, drop an office building with a walkway to, let's say, the different businesses to have lunch, to have homes, to have these sort of connectedness to create that natural sort of ecosystem and keep that activity within Laurel. So it's thinking in an integrated fashion.
Thank you. And moving to our next question, we'll start with you, Ms. Clark. What measures would you propose to ensure fair and competitive bidding for city contracts that allow local Laurel businesses to participate effectively?
Well, that's a great question and simple for me. Since I was elected, my ongoing question was, what are the demographics of the individuals that applied for these jobs? Where did they come from? Are they local? How far are they? I think our staff, city staff, they're probably used to me asking that question at this point, because when I worked for our Syracuse city, that was one of the things that I was tasked with managing and helping, to make sure that it is fair and equitable across the board, to make sure that people are qualified for those positions and that it's not a favor, to ensure that we are engaging our small business owners, because that is the way that not only do we attract, but it's an incentive to have them here so they know that we will try to ask them for their business first. So keeping it local is one thing that's very important to me and something that I always thrive for as a council member. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, same question.
So one thing, I have noticed in our bids that we do have some of the same companies reoccurring, right? So I guess a question that I always have too is, how do we make these bids available or known to companies in the area? So I want to make sure that we are being fair and transparent and making it available to a wide range of bidders. And then I think we also need to look at opening it up and maybe allowing recommendations. Like, people may know of companies that would benefit from being a part of the bidding process that they could recommend, and then open it up that way.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons?
Yeah, our current bid process is like a closed bid process, sort of a standard one, where a bid is placed online. Folks can be aware of it. Then you submit a closed bid by a certain deadline. And then after that deadline, all the bids are opened, ranked, and usually we go with the lowest or maybe the second lowest. So it's a pretty sort of fair process in that respect, but definitely to the point of, being able to have order of preference for those based in Laurel, I think is certainly something that's important to have within that process. So if somebody is local and they want to become part of that process, please reach out to myself or to really any member of council or the city. We definitely want to see the city of Laurel, businesses themselves, be a part of what we do here.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, same question.
Can you repeat the question?
Certainly. What measures would you propose to ensure fair and competitive bidding for city contracts that allow local Laurel businesses to participate effectively?
Well, I just look at the process again, and making sure that we're doing it fair. Sometimes, again, like we said, we've bid and we see the same names come up, and sometimes maybe we need to expand the search, or maybe, again, I know it's fair because you're putting it out there, but making more people aware or finding another channel of letting people know that it's happening, especially the local businesses. So I would just look at what we have now and see how we can revamp it if possible.
Thank you. Shifting gears a little bit, the next question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Johnson. What measures would you propose to address juvenile delinquency and ensure the safety of residents in Laurel during evening hours?
So, if I'm honest, as a parent, I would definitely make sure that we engage the parents, because they have to know, where their kids are, what their kids are doing, and so that we can work together as a community. It doesn't start or just fall on one place. Like, we don't want to punish all the time. We do want to educate, make sure they have different opportunities to do different things, and then hold people accountable for what they, once you know the right thing to do.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, in my mind, this is important about delicate balance. And it's also something that's not even completely in our control. As part of the issues is we've conversed over this past year, is the changes the state made back during the COVID era. Well-intentioned to try to say, how can we help folks who are struggling, to sort of connect them to resources that will help them shift to a different path. But in the process, some of the safeguards were removed, and unfortunately, there's been an adverse impact to property damage and things like that. So some of this is working with, and I have already started to talk to some of our state legislatures about what might be done on that front. But it's making sure that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a person-by-person solution. So having a variety of alternatives available, and then being able to have somebody with good judgment saying, okay, in this situation, this is appropriate. In this situation, this is the best way to help things get better.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Can you repeat the question one time for me?
Sure. What measures would you propose to address juvenile delinquency and ensure the safety of residents in Laurel during evening hours?
Well, I would leverage my relationships with the state legislature, and for them to go back and revamp some of their laws so we can hold some of our children accountable. As a father, I can tell you, I'm going to hold my child accountable. It's going to start at home. But having the conversation with parents and letting them know what's happening, they may not be as engaged. Maybe they got to work and they're out. So again, getting that message out to them of what's going on. I know a lot of times a way for us to help engage is to have programs for some of the youth, which we have some already. But looking at how can we draw programs that actually want to bring the kids out. You know, the kids we're looking for that are getting into the trouble. So again, looking at substance and what we're doing, making sure it's meaningful. And so I would look towards the programs and leaning on my relationships with the legislators to make sure we're passing laws on the state level so our police and our family and our communities can hold them accountable.
Thank you. Same question, Ms. Clark.
Thank you. That's a great question, and that's something that I already worked on. This summer, to address the elephant in the room, we had a few things that occurred, and it happened across the DMV area. I worked directly with the mayor and the administration to request and enact a curfew. It wasn't very popular. However, it wasn't just for the safety of the residents, it was for the safety of the kids. Their kids were out very late, and we didn't want them to get hurt. I think it was also great for them to have an opportunity to rest before they go back to school. In addition to that, have been working on legislation updates with the mayor and the administration to instill locally for the city of Laurel community service requirements. Because if you're going to come here and things happen, then you need to stay here to fix it. And this is to build up our youth, to ensure that they are engaged and for them to know that we care about their health and their safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next question is similar to that question, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Simmons. How do you plan to support law enforcement in enforcing the recent juvenile curfew without infringing on community rights?
A big important part about law enforcement and even a change in law, and folks may be aware there was a change to the curfew law proposed at the beginning of this month. It's currently sort of got pulled for further conversation. So if they want to go deeper into some of what we're even actively considering right now, I encourage them to look at the October 1st work session. But communication is really key, and especially with the parents, to make sure that everybody sort of understands. It's not an enviable position to sort of have to be in a hard situation. One thing I'm very thankful for is our police have always been very measured and starting very low and only escalating in a limited way as needed. So communicating that well, understanding where the boundaries are, and being able to sort of promote, like they did again this summer. They were very proactive to sort of protecting our community and saying, yes, this is what we need our police to do.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How do you plan to support law enforcement in enforcing the recent juvenile curfew without infringing on community rights?
As Councilman Simmons says, communication. Communicating with the parents. And also, again, drawing all the families out so we all can get to know one another and they can get to know their police as well that are protecting them. So a lot of times, I can tell you I was a teen 20 years ago. And then I can tell you the ones that didn't have relationships with police, some of them that got into trouble maybe because no one was watching them, their parent had to work 2-3 jobs. Sometimes it's just about a relationship. When they knew that their neighbor, Mr. So-and-so or Officer so-and-so, it made it harder for them to want to do any bad in their community, as well as it made them respect authority when they got to know their neighbors and they got to know their authority. So I would try to bring everyone together in a fun fashion, just like we have National Night Out, but we need some other areas where we connect with our community because we can't stay in our silos.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you. As I did before, working collaboratively with the mayor and the administration and our Laurel Police Department to understand what's happening in the community. It was ever changing on an ongoing basis, so having those updates, staying in steady communication. I also looked at the legislation within Prince George's County to understand what they were doing, took that as a mirror to then make it for our city, for the city of Laurel. Also spoke with parents in the community and residents to get their input, to add that in for the curfew and to understand what they were experiencing in their neighborhoods. Because it's not just our decision for the residents, it's also the residents and their input as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure, just in order to support law enforcement, thinking about this without infringing on community rights. And I'm thinking about it, as a parent, because you have different situations, like my children go out to work, they go out to school, they have different reasons for being out. So I think that we need to take a look at the different situations that may occur and enforce accordingly. So if you have a reason to be out, make sure that that is communicated and that and if you're not supposed to be out for any reason, then you may have to go in. If there's no reason to be out 12 o'clock at night if you are engaging in illegal activity or something like that. So just take a look at a tiered approach in different situations because situations are different and require different legislation.
Our next question, we're staying in the law enforcement arena. We'll start with you, Mr. Smith. How would you strengthen relationships between law enforcement and residents to improve mutual trust?
Again, through events, community, you got to do things people are interested in. You got to meet people where they are. And I can speak to one when I did the Afro-Caribbean Festival back in 2022. We had roughly around under 5,000 people there. And there was not one incident that happened. Luckily, yes, we were blessed that day, but at the same time, those people that were there that day, they felt protected by their police, they felt seen by the police, and the police also looked humanized in their face as well. Because as they're enjoying themselves, so are they. And so they got to walk around and talk with one another. I think it's very important to bring everyone together, to bring the community together through things where we're enjoying ourselves, where everyone has their guard down. And of course, establishing those relationships with the community, with our law enforcement, so that they can do their job properly.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, same question. I'm sorry, Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you, no problem. I think that our Laurel Police Department does an amazing job of engaging our community members. I'm an at-large member for the Prince George's County Municipal Association, and we hold so many events in the city of Laurel, and every time you look up, our police officers are there. The kids know their names. They run up to them and hug them. So that tells you right there that they are engaging with our community members already on their own. I also have seen our Laurel Police Department engage and bring in surrounding counties, Prince George's County officers, the sheriffs. They feel welcome in our community. And I think that's important because in our area, you won't just see City of Laurel Police officers. You also see Prince George's County police officers, and it's important that we're on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, same question.
Yeah, I'm a strong proponent of the Laurel Police Department. I think they do an excellent job at community engagement and outreach. I've shared this with them before. I've even had constituents speak to me personally and how their opinion of cops have changed just dealing with the Laurel Police Department. And I also spoke to a resident who mentioned like they were having crime in their area, and the police department came out and showed them the benefit of having the Ring cameras and hooking it up to our system so that they can help with crime. So a shout out to our Laurel Police Department. I think they do a good job. I think we should continue to support them in their efforts. And one thing I did mention, I know they do a lot of social media communication. So just in an effort to reach everyone, maybe some different communication efforts, but Laurel PD does a great job.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons.
Thank you. Yeah, and I concur. I think we're very blessed to have a police department that really goes the extra mile to reach out, to communicate, to extend an open hand, to listen. There's the police university, the coffee with the cop, the national night out, the summer camp that they run, go fishing with the cop. and many other types of programs. One thing that I might suggest, should it be a situation, for instance, tying in the previous question, that we would change the juvenile curfew law, I talked about making sure we communicate that well, but I also like the idea of having built in from the front interim meetings to sort of have check-ins. To say, okay, we're going to change this, we're going to be sure we communicate it well. Let's have pre-scheduled some check-in times as part of that rollout so that we can get feedback and adapt it if we need to based on what we're learning. But that would be a great way.
Thank you. And moving to our next question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Clark. How can the City Council effectively address the quality of life impact of loud noise, excessive trash, and unkempt properties through enhanced but fair code enforcement?
Thank you for that. I can tell you that during my term, I have provided suggested legislation and updates to the mayor and the administration. I know that we're waiting on the state in regards to a noise camera. I did request that and speak with Councilmember Tom Dernoga in regards to that. I know that there are 4 that have been placed around Prince George's County. Our area isn't one, but it's pretty close. So that's one thing that I've recommended. In addition to that, most recently, I did side by side with our Department of Public Works. That's right, I was picking up your trash and your composting, and I see everything you were doing. No, it was fun to understand and learn, but I think it's important for our residents to know what our DPW department does for us daily. And if they can help, one thing you can do is to move your car when they are street sweeping. We would generously appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure, I just want to make sure people are aware, because we do have the My Laurel app where we can address issues like that. People can send in notification of loud noises, trash on the street, and things like that. So you can send that if you're aware of it to, and it will go to a department that can handle that accordingly. And then I think that we, as a community, can just do better. We do have the 3, different refuse options. So just making sure that people are educated and know how to take care of that accordingly. And I think if we work together as a community, it can be handled.
Thank you. Now say that 3 times fast. No. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, thank you. And this is something, as a member of council, I do get on with some frequency of a different location or that location. I'm often able to reach out to the city team to coordinate code enforcement coming out. We always begin with an education. Okay, hey, by the way, we need to take care of this, or if it's a different type of trash, or maybe it's a commercial location that has their own trash pickup and they needed to move from 1 pickup a week to 2 pickup a week. We even help facilitate getting a new trash can put out on Main Street in a certain location that is a perennial problem. So always begin for the education, but I actually 3 weeks ago, as I was talking with some of the city team, I was like, hey, if we've got somebody that's just consistently a problem, we might need to take that to the next step in terms of enforcement as fines in order to get someone's attention. You never want to go that route, but sometimes that's the only option that you're given. To the noise, I would love to hear more feedback from the community. I know sometimes there's the road stuff, but if there's other things in town, I'd like to have some more details and sort of see what we can work out.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, same question.
For the code enforcement, I believe we can be proactive as a city, as our code enforcement does drive around, but making sure they're touching all areas of the city. We know we have the My Laurel app. Well, I know, just making sure all the constituents know, not just the ones that vote. So, of course, getting that out to them, and when we have these large gatherings or wherever the people are meeting, letting them know to use that app to report any trash or anything they've seen. But also, just being a good steward of your community. You see some trash, pick it up. As far as the noise, being in the community, I haven't heard a lot of noise besides the annoying cars. And I know there's a loving car community, but we need to do find a way and come to the table, find a solution with any car clubs that are meeting within our city or anyone living within them. Come calmly to the table with them to try to speak with them so they can speak to their colleagues about how they're driving through our city.
Thank you. So moving on to our next question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Johnson. How should the city address mental health and social services needs amid public safety concerns?
Great question. I think that leads us definitely to our multi-service center. That's exactly what it's there for, to provide resources to help in all different areas, and definitely mental health will be one of them. We also have the Laurel Helping Hands. We do have a counselor over there now that's ready and willing to help, and she's reaching out to others in the community. So I think we just need to take advantage of the infrastructure that we already have, make sure the organizations are aware that they have this infrastructure available that they can use, and make it available to our constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Same question.
Yes, and there's a couple different pieces to that. One of them is, we do this pretty well in terms of the training for our law enforcement professionals to sort of understand the variety of circumstances that may happen, and that they have the degree of training they need, that if those markers are recognized, that it be treated appropriate to what that individual is experiencing, but still in such a way that we're able to protect the public, to sort of get them out of harm's way. Actually, I was, this past cycle, I was happy to be a part of facilitating Eric Grantham to present here in front of council what becomes known as the Eric ID law, got passed at the state level so that folks' ID could carry a marker of somebody who might be autistic or have different types of things, so that we could, again, respond appropriately based on the situation. But it is a treasure to be able to have the multi-service center to also be able to connect to resources and provide that type of help for those who need it.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Well, I've had the privilege of serving as the co-vice chair of the homelessness task force that gave the recommendations for the multi-service center, and then, of course, as a council member voting for it. So that's exactly where I would point anyone in that direction. They're doing a great job already. The point of that place is to have a hub that has all these organizations in our area serving our community. And so I would just definitely point them there, and I think they'll definitely benefit from that work right there.
Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. My colleagues have mentioned some great points. One, our multi-service center, our director of the multi-service center was just in the back of the room. We have tremendous services there. We partner with the Prince George's County area to not only the Prince George's County, but Howard County and Arundel, because we have so many resources. It's just most people don't know about them, and making them aware is the first step. In addition, as Councilmember Simmons said, our police department, they have advised that they're well-trained to recognize mental health emergencies, and I think that's valuable and important. In addition to that, our council wrote a letter of support in regards to supporting Eric ID law recently, which was just enacted on October 1st, and you can get that at our MVA. But I testified in the Maryland House and Senate for this side by side with Eric Grantham and his mother, and I'm very excited that persons that even have hidden disabilities now can receive a little bit more patience and understanding with having that butterfly on the license. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving to our next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Simmons. Parking has become a growing challenge downtown. What solutions would you propose to address limited parking availability?
I don't know that I have a solution right off the bat on that one. I wish I did. Some of that is about evaluating, where the different spaces are that need parking. Maybe there's the ability to have a time limits where people need to sort of rotate so that we can have people come and go and not have them tie up a spot for the whole day if they're not really using it. So I haven't heard that as much. I know actually sometimes in Old Town and on Main Street parking is a concern, but those would be perhaps some of the solutions.
Mr. Smith, same question.
We've done enough traffic studies here to know that there's been a parking issue sometimes, but like you said, on Main Street, I don't know that there's an issue per se that I have heard of, but we can, bring all the people to the table again and think of ways, whether it's passes for the businesses to give to whoever's using them so they can get back. If the person doesn't have one, maybe we're watching the time and they're not having the pass or something. We could think of anything. But definitely just bringing everyone to the table and think of what's good for the city and not, harming our residents and our visitors. So.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Same question.
Thank you. I have been thinking about this for quite some time because as I go downtown on Main Street and I'm trying to find where to park and trying to avoid parking illegally because I know everyone knows my vehicle. But I think that with us having limited parking spaces, which is also a good thing because we have a lot of businesses and we have people who are visiting, so that's good. But two, I would love to possibly see incentives given to, there are some business owners that have parking in the back of their business, and perhaps they could open that up with that incentive to offer it to people visiting some of the local businesses downtown, because the city of Laurel only has so much space, so much land, but if we can maximize what we do have and work with each other, I think that it would be a great benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
I must know all the secret places. No, because I don't have a problem parking. But I know, like, behind the women's club, there's a spot, that PNC Bank area. So I do know, like, there are like some little hidden gems that we can take advantage of. So maybe we just need to look and survey the area to see where the problem areas would be. If it's at a certain time of day, certain location, take a look at that and see if we could mitigate it based on the information that we gather.
And not so hidden anymore
Right,
after
right.
tonight. No. Okay, and we have another question, and we're going to start with, we have plenty of questions. What am I talking about? We have plenty of questions. But we're going to start the next question with you, Mr. Smith. Residents often cite traffic congestion and unsafe intersections as pressing issues. What are your top priorities for improving traffic flow and road safety?
Well, talking with our professionals, of course, because they wear the hat there, but also looking at where the recommendations are for traffic calming measures and actually making sure they're done. I know before the previous council, we've had a traffic study and we also had some recommendations. I don't know to date if all of them have been followed through on, but again, that's something to look at. I know I've heard from residents just by knocking doors that some people are looking for speed bumps, where speed bumps more than likely wouldn't go, but we can find other solutions to help calm traffic. So again, bringing everyone to the table, looking at what our recommendations were from the professionals and making sure we're following through on them.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you. In regards to congestion and improving traffic, there has been a concern of that near our Royal Farms and our Wawa area. It was brought up to me recently, well, actually not recently, but I listen to the residents. I think that's important. We're not going to know what everyone deals with in different areas, so we need that input. It's valuable and it's necessary. That's first. Then we bring that to the rooms that we're in and make sure that we communicate it on behalf of the residents. Most recently on the Planning Commission, I made sure that the developer was aware in that area that I need them to either do an additional study or I need them to look into it because the residents in that area are having concerns and they're having safety trouble. They said they weren't aware. They said they looked into it, but they didn't know it was continuing. So it's good to have that dialogue, to voice the concerns of our people and to make sure that the people in the room know so that we can make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
So it's interesting that you mentioned about the Royal Farms. I guess it just depends on where you are, because the thorn in my side is the traffic intersection in front of the Chevy Chase Bank on Route 1. That you have to make a right, and everybody doesn't know you have to make a right. That is the bane of my existence. And my friend mentioned this. She's new to the area, and she said this area right here is a problem. So I definitely understand. And one thing I will look to share with the Public Safety and Transportation Committee, but as I go to church in Bowie, there are individual cones that are in the road that direct traffic, and you can't cut the lines. So I will look into maybe giving some of those so that we can direct traffic better. I think we can do a better job of that to help with the traffic congestion, specifically in that area, but we may want to look at different areas too.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, this is really a great opportunity for residents to reach out to members of council and the city to sort of say, here's where problem areas. I know really even over the last month or so, I've had 3 different conversations, one with a crosswalk on Sandy Spring where the sidewalk's on one side of the road, then switches to the other side of the road, but there's no crosswalk right there, and there really should be a stop sign. Coming out of the Harris Teeter, turning left onto northbound Route 1, there's like no left turn signal, which makes that a pretty dangerous from coming out of there. And also over in Patuxent Greens, there's a sort of a right turn right where the playground is. that there's an inadequate turning radius. And I sat there and I observed 4 different cars have to back up and let the other car through. So these are the types of things that can be brought to our attention. Sometimes they are city level and we can solve that working with DPW. Sometimes they're multi-jurisdictional, like Route 1 is a state road, and it takes longer, but definitely surface those and would chip away at solving each one of them.
Thank you. We have another traffic-related question, and we're going to start with you, Ms. Clark. How do you plan to tackle the issue of street racing and implement effective traffic calming measures?
Well, I like the old school method. So I went on my Instagram channel and actually I regularly communicate with the car groups. They're constantly DMing me and I'm like, hey, I see you guys over here in the parking lot. Can you do me a favor, move it down the street? So that's my first effort. I feel like communication is important, right? Respect through that communication, saying, hey, I love your cars. I love the lights. It's great. Let's figure out a way to do this in a more calm manner. But can you not make all the noise at night because my residents don't like it? Number 2, also, as I said, I've been trying to make sure that our county representatives are aware of the noise that occurs. Also communicating with our Laurel Police Department. They're aware. Most time people don't see them there, but they are aware of the noise that is occurring, and they usually mitigate it right away. But the residents, as we've said before, please use your My City Laurel app to put those non-emergency concerns in so that the police are aware and they can act on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
Yes, when I was part of the Public Safety and Transportation Committee, this did come up quite a few times, and the police are part of that committee also, so they are aware. So I think we can start. I know it's a strain on the police. Everything is a strain, but definitely have more of a police presence during at night in those areas where we may notice or have heard of different car races and things going on like that. And then, find a way to maybe not make the street as accessible. If it's not easy to drive on, then they can't drag race on it. So just some of the things to consider, the police presence and maybe doing some calming measures to mitigate that.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons?
Yeah, thankfully, a couple of years ago, Delegate Lehman here from the 21st District at the state level had introduced some street legislation that got passed. I think it was about a year and a half ago. There was even the Laurel Police collaborated with some of the other local law enforcement and sort of did at least 2 or 3 different events where they sort of knew about them, came, even made some arrests from an enforcement. I thought I saw things die down, but I've actually heard it start picking back up. Especially my wife, who has better ears than I, says, do you hear that? I'm like, yeah, actually I do. So it's about being vigilant. It's about being adaptive. It's about being proactive. I think the laws are there. At this point, it's just a matter of being consistent.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, same question.
Piggybacking on what all 3 of these fine people said, because we're all pretty much saying the same thing, because I do agree, the police do a great job making sure, of course, if they're out there deterring people from racing, I think that helps. But old school, like Councilwoman Clark said, communicating with them. I'm in communication with some of them. They're not all part of one big car group. There's several just different car groups from all over. Some of them don't even live here, but they use Laurel as a ground. You got to reach out to them. Talk to them. Let them know it's not acceptable here. Yes, they know that when they see a police, but if we have that relationship with them, I believe we can help deter them from coming through here and acting that way when they come through our streets. It's unacceptable. I can't stand the car noise, and I can't stand the racing. Just like on Van Dusen, they're missing a part of a sidewalk. The residents are still complaining about that. It's between the county, city, but we got to come together, figure it out, and have a resolution about that.
Thank you. So moving on to our next question, we'll start with you, Ms. Johnson. What steps will you take to expand public transportation options or connectivity to regional transit hubs for Laurel residents and workers?
Thank you. So I know recently WMATA, the Washington Metropolitan Transit, has upgraded their whole system. Like, we have new signs, we have different routes and things of that nature. So making sure that has been communicated, because we do have quite a few options here. And it's interesting that we are like in the middle, because people would call when I was at the front desk and ask about transportation options, and I would have to say, where are you going? Do you take the RTA? Do you take the WMATA? Do you take the MARC? And different options. So I believe that if we have that information, we're in a good position. And if we make sure that we gather that information and be able to disseminate it and share it with the residents so that they know the different options that we have available.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yes, and the city of Laurel itself, doesn't run any public transit sort of programs. And sometimes the fact that Laurel's in 4 counties, we're sort of on the edge of multi-jurisdictions, it can lead to complications with having multiple different solutions or even not solutions. Certainly, reaching out and trying to be sure that Laurel is thought of when those places are designing their routes. As Councilwoman Johnson just referenced, the bus routes just got all redone. We actually recently before council approved a complete sort of overhaul of Van Dusen Road, in part to build in the bus stops at the proper heights and to make them accessible for modern days. So I think practically from the city level, it's about being sure we have easy ways for people to get to where these places are picking up, and then also being sure that we're collaborating with those routes to be sure Laurel is being planned as part of where they do their service.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
And, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes.
I was enjoying his answer, that's why.
What steps will you take to expand public transportation options or connectivity to regional transit hubs for Laurel residents and workers?
Well, the first step I would take is leverage my relationships with those hubs at the state level, and of course, even with WMATA as a consultant. Again, I have a lot of relationships in different areas where I feel we can leverage to see what they're doing and how, and bring our voice, of course, to them. Like you said, we don't have a necessary seat at that table, but we can use those relationships to make sure it's serving our people in our area. I did see a while back a map, it's not a real map anymore, where they're even thinking of extending the Green Line to Cantera. I don't know if that will ever happen. I don't know if the residents even want that. But again, having those conversations when people are making plans without your input, and I would be that advocate, and I would use my relationships I do have currently to make sure we're heard.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Yes, thank you. This year, I took time to attend the WMATA briefings for elected officials as well as their public meetings to ensure that they were aware of the needs of Laurel. I wanted to make sure that they understood our residents, understood our populations, understood where people are working so that they could include that in their changes. In addition to that, I also requested an upgrade to many of the seated areas. I noticed that a lot of people were being rained on after they were working, or they didn't have seating in certain areas and they were exhausted and sitting on the ground. So I did make mention of that so they knew what areas. Also lighting, I was concerned about their safety. And one last thing that I did mention to them as well is to request about free direct busing for our seniors and to include and make sure we had local mobility. That's something that I remember using in Montgomery County, and I wanted to make sure that we had it here. Thank you.
Thank you. And so our next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Simmons. How would you handle issues like the condemnation at Tiers at Laurel Lake to protect condo owners and residents?
Part of the challenge for a homeowners association or a condos association is saving money aside to those big capital improvements, in this case millions of dollars. It's become such an issue statewide that a couple of years ago or last year or two, the state passed a law requiring those associations to have adequate reserves. There's a lot of complexity in the case of Tiers in terms of if people aren't paying, you don't have the money. They also had difficulty with contractors, so there's a lot of complicating factors. The city, I believe, took a good approach in terms of letting them know, trying to assist, trying to make possible the repairs, but at a certain point deemed that it was not safe enough to continue further and had to make a hard decision. Thankfully, changes were able to be made. It's very much a case by case, but sort of spreading that news and using that as an example to say, hey, how can we make sure that your community is properly prepared for this?
Thank you. Mr. Smith, same question.
Piggybacking on that, I was on the council when those concerns were being brought up. And of course, communication in, I believe, between the city and the HOAs, making sure, yes, there's a law passed, but making sure it's enforced within our city, making sure that they have that check-ins, making sure that our communities and our residents are safe. and that their communities can make sure to make those repairs when needed, so they're not in another situation like the tears that happened.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Yes, thank you. During the Tears incident, I had the opportunity to work with some of the residents that were there to make sure that they were connected with our city staff to understand what opportunities that we had to help them. In addition to that, I commend, our Fire and Permit Services Department on their open dialogue with the residents there. It was a very tough situation, but we also offered as a city the opportunity for the residents to come into this area where they had not had a consistent HOA team to communicate with. So they really were able to hash out a lot of things here in the city of Laurel, but we did leverage a lot of our local relationships, our state relationships and county relationships to offer additional funding to American Red Cross, but also giving recommendations. I gave recommendations to the mayor and the administration as well on some opportunities that I knew, such as LARS. LARS was a big help. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure. I'm actually pretty, for the most part, pleased at how it worked out. The issue itself was a bad one where the residents had to deal with their condo association. But like Ms. Clark mentioned, the way that they were able to come to the city, that they were able to talk about the different issues that came up and then looking for a path forward. Like she also mentioned, our code enforcement department did a very good job of, sharing the information of how the association should have been moving forward. And then again, like we have to, make those hard decisions sometimes. So it had to come to a point where we have to get these things done or else. So I do appreciate the way that it went down, not the situation itself, but us being able to provide those resources, that communication to that development.
Thank you. And we have reached the point in tonight's forum where we will take a brief break so that we can all breathe and take a deep breath, and then we'll return from break and continue. Thank you.
looking at everything, you can hear me out.
Welcome back from break. We're going to resume with our questioning. With our next question, we're going to start with Mr. Smith. How would you propose integrating AI technologies to streamline city government operations, such as permitting and licensing processes?
I would have the option to use the AI, and I also would keep the option to deal with a live person. I know for me, I want to, if I have a question, I don't want to press 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go through and hear a response. I want to hear a direct response to my question. So I would use both. I would always give the second option. We would never lose it.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, the same question.
Thank you for your question. I recently had the opportunity to attend COG on behalf of the mayor, and he recommended a topic regarding AI and government. It was wonderful to hear from the senator that attended, but they said something that was very valuable that I believe in. One, my bachelor's degree, my minor is in computer science, so I actually can create computer programs and video games. But it's important to have the human value still included, because if not, AI can run wild with people's data, with their pictures or images, making sure that demographics are included and tested. So I would love to use AI, but only for a certain amount of things and not to its full extent and not without a human. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
I wasn't expecting this one, but very good question about AI. I am learning it myself, using it in my line of work. It's administrative procedures and things like that. So I think that it will be great to streamline the process for the permitting. We mentioned a couple of times tonight how the process is a little bit cumbersome. So using and leveraging the technology of AI would be a great way to do that. So, but I think, as others have mentioned too, to keep the human component, but then provide training. We do have some monies and things in the budget to provide training. So look at training for AI to help streamline those processes to make it easier for the constituents and for the employees. And knowing that AI won't take your job, it will just enhance your job.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, thank you. AI is not a substitute for a human person. And actually, I was just speaking with a prospect earlier today, and we were having that conversation that you have to have the human context and the human sort of framework to be able to, specific to how we can use that. It could be a great opportunity to have the permitting process do cross-checks. Having applied for some of the permits through the city, different types of situations require different supporting documents or different types of data. Sometimes what slows down the process is somebody submits a form they think is complete, the team looks at it, has to come back, oh, you also need this, you also need that, and then that gets submitted. And so what AI potentially could do on the front end is say, hey, based on what you've answered, by the way, don't forget you also need to send a photo of this, or you also need to send that piece of information, and that way there's a better chance of it being 100% complete by the time it gets to the person.
Thank you. In that same neighborhood, the next question will start with you, Ms. Clark. How can AI-driven tools be used to enhance community engagement, such as through smart city initiatives or predictive maintenance for infrastructure?
I'm glad you asked this question. We recently had celebrated the 100th anniversary of NLC, National League of Cities, and I was able to meet so many different vendors there. One vendor had an application that I was absolutely enamored with. It allowed you to translate so many different documents and also in real-time communication for different residents. I think it had over hundreds of languages at your fingertips. I definitely sent it to our IT department, who had already heard about it, to try to support our staff, because we only have so many people, and there's only so many things that they can do. But if we can enhance and add it with AI, I loved that. They also had in Tampa something downtown in their area where you can use a touch screen to understand what was downtown, the streets, the businesses. I think that would be a wonderful feature. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
I think I mentioned earlier the My Laurel app, so things we can bring it together. So we have the My Laurel app, and we can use AI so that neighbors can integrate pictures, and when they send us things, the AI can be in the background letting us know where they are, what type of issues and things that are happening. We can use it with what we already have. During COVID, we also had the like virtual or computers in the lobby. Maybe we can provide some type of infrastructure in the lobby where people, if they don't have the availability at home, but we can provide that in the lobby where they can come and use the system that we have. And again, to do a passport application or sign up for a passport application, the My Laurel app, letting us know about different things in the area that need to be addressed, but we can maybe make that available to our constituents.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, AI for community engagement and also anticipatory planning. One of the tools I use at work for tax research and law research is an AI agent that's trained on the tax code. And so instead of having to flip to a page and know where to look, you can actually just ask the question. That might be a creative way to use for the city where somebody may not know the right place to look up in the city charter or the Unified Land Development Code. They just say, I'm planning on making a fence. What do I need to know? And that might be an easy, and sometimes those tools you don't have to invest a lot in. You can just point it at, this is the thing, and we pay $500 a year. And now a resident can have a very easy way to get to an answer at 12:30 at night when they happen to be working on their fence planning. From the anticipatory planning of the city, very interesting idea. I would imagine it would take a while to train an AI model to know, okay, this road was last repaired 15 years ago and maybe needs to be looked at again. So that might be a little bit more future looking, but definitely a very interesting concept.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, same question.
Piggybacking off of them, of course, with the technology, like Councilwoman Clark mentioned, touchscreen maps, as well as AI, like he mentioned as well, with looking at what we've repaired and what's going wrong, the timeline of stuff. Hey, we got a ticking clock on whatever the infrastructure is to say, hey, this is somewhere we need to look at, and also enhancing our My Laurel app, getting it more well-versed to be more responsive to the people using it.
Thank you. Our next question in the same neighborhood, we'll start with you, Ms. Johnson. What safeguards would you advocate for to ensure ethical use of AI in city services, particularly regarding resident data privacy?
So I think we would start with eliciting our wonderful IT department. So they do a great job of helping us, council members, the staff, and residents, as far as our website, the My Laurel app, and things of that nature. So yes, the PII, that information is definitely important to keep that safeguarded. So we'll work with the IT department to make sure that we have those things in place so that residents' information isn't put out into the atmosphere willy-nilly.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, and it's a very important question. Technology can be very powerful, and it's important to have anticipated in advance how it might be accidentally or intentionally misused, and to set up safeguards in advance. Some of that is just being sure that the data set that is even available to the tool doesn't contain any private information. That would be absolutely critical. Similarly, some of the evolutions we're seeing in AI is about restraining the types of queries that can be run on the front end. Certainly the tool can be flexible, but we want to say, hey, if this type of question is asked, do not answer this question. So there's things to be done. As Councilwoman Johnson says, our IT department is very strong and knowledgeable, and I'm sure they would be able to spearhead that for us.
Mr. Smith.
Again, I can piggyback off that of serving on the council. Our IT is well-versed in that area, and I've always supported them in whatever they needed to make sure they have the funds to protect our information. So I would continue doing that, and of course, leaning on their professional expertise in that area.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you. First, I have to say thank you to our IT department, especially Director Cornwell Shield and our team. They tend to try to stay really in advance of what's happening, also knowing the latest things that are coming out or the issues that may occur. In addition to that, I think it's important, as I mentioned previously, to include that human component. Humans have feelings. The computers don't. They do what you tell them to do. So if you tell them to bypass something or to include only this face, which most data or cameras generally don't include all shades of individuals, you have to think of those things prior to writing those programs. And I think of that because, again, I'm a computer programmer. Also, just asking the questions to ensure that there's accessibility, proper accessibility, considering visual needs, considering sign language capabilities, and all individuals, especially languages as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the opportunity to shift our focus to questions from the audience. And I would like the audience members to know that these questions were vetted to make sure that duplicate questions that may have already been addressed will not be asked again in the interest of time and brevity and conciseness. So I want you to know that. But we're going to start with our first audience question. We'll start with you, Mr. Simmons. Do you believe the city of Laurel has invested sufficiently in celebrating cultural programming? If not, how would you address this shortfall?
Yeah, and this, I think, deals with the fact that this year we did not have a multicultural event or a Hispanic heritage sort of event. There's a lot of pieces of that puzzle. I think we should have done more, to be honest. I think we're learning, and next year we'll do better. I know that I'm keyed into that issue. I didn't realize that it wasn't slated and that there were other decisions being made. In many ways, we do a number of things, but I do think that's an area where we can take it to another level. I think it's one of the strengths of the city to be so diverse and multicultural and also to be collaborative, and that is really something we need to have front and center as far as our city programs.
Same question, Mr. Smith.
I've always believed the city could do more, which is why I threw the first Afro-Caribbean Festival in 2022. Which I also think helped birth the Multicultural Committee to do their events, even though they didn't have one this year. I believe in keeping everyone engaged, and again, those events are important because it helps everyone be seen, and also, apart from being seen, it helps one learn about their neighbor. You know, and it's a fun time for everyone to connect. Again, using those events for our staff and our police to understand those communities and bring them out. It's important that everyone here has a space. And that's what the multicultural event would have been for. If I get to serve again, I would make sure that happens along with many other types of events that are needed where there's a void.
Okay. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you for the question. I think that every city desires to have more cultural programming. However, we have a budget, and so we have to kind of adhere to that to avoid raising taxes. But within that, everyone can do more. We have so many cultures in the United States, which I love learning about all of them. But I'm more excited about engaging and working directly with our new multicultural committee. I was really glad that the council agreed to pass this legislation and that the mayor wanted to create it, but I think the committee is so passionate, all of the members, they have great ideas. We just had our first meeting. I am the chair of the new multicultural committee. We had our first meeting September 15th, which was unfortunately right after when the Hispanic Heritage Day month celebration would have occurred. But we will be in the planning for next year, so look forward to our fundraising efforts, look forward to the things that we will have coming up, and I believe next year will be so much better. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure. The initial question, like, does the city invest in the cultural programming, to me is an absolute yes. This year, with a particular program, we did drop the ball. So apologies for missing that opportunity. What I think happens, we have a lot of different groups, a lot of committees that plan different events. And there was a miscommunication about a particular event to happen. So I think that moving forward, we just need to make sure that communication is spread. We do have a calendar of all events. And normally we are advised of the things that are going on, but for this particular event, it did get missed. But I do believe that we do a great job in advocating for our diverse population. When Councilman Cole came up with the Pride Committee, we started and it moved forward. Juneteenth, it started and moved forward. Once we put these things out, we do move forward and invest in them. I think, again, it was a missed opportunity for us that we can definitely learn from and work on our communication to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Thank you. So for our next audience question, we're going to start with you, Mr. Smith. What role should the City Council play in addressing the rising costs of groceries, utilities, and transportation that are burdening many Laurel households?
Well, that role, of course, during the pandemic when things were happening, we set aside legislation. Of course, we made legislation with lawyers to put emergency funding for things of that nature when everything was uncertain. Now, of course, having some money aside again to work with lawyers in our multi-service center, but also being an advocate to the state level and county level to make sure they're talking to their counterparts on that level to make sure to help drive down the cost. We still should be advocating to our federal partners and our state level partners, which I'm very close with as well. Again, that can help. They're taking that to their committee meetings to where they can help fight for us. But again, it's a role we do take part in, but it's not solely on the council. But there's little remedies we can do to help.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you for the question. Recently, this week, I don't even know what today is, Thursday, Wednesday? This week, I sent a letter of support and just recognition, thanking first the legislators for our county and our congressional members for speaking on our behalf. But I also let them know how the furlough and the layoffs are affecting our community members. Just like we need to hear from you, they need to hear from us. And I needed them to know how much it's affecting people from buying groceries. And when they don't have their jobs, they then can't support our small businesses, which then affects them. And so communicating that on a regular basis and advocating for our residents is first and priority. But also just making sure that if there's anything that we can do to create some financial sustainability here, that we do so and we do it swiftly. Pre-planning and communicating with our legislators to either get more funding or to keep us in consideration is something that the council can do. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, same question.
Sure. We are, citizens also. We have to buy the same groceries and pay for the same things that everyone has to pay for too. So we definitely understand, the strain. So like we mentioned, one thing that we can do for sure is to advocate. That's what you elected us for. That's what you have us here for. So learning how to go to the places where our voices can be heard at those different levels, the state, county, and national levels. And then also, not so much as paying for the groceries, but we do a good job at sharing resources. So there are a lot of food pantries and different things that are available. So if someone needs resources and help with making sure that they have something to eat, we do make those resources available.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yes, and the city doesn't have a direct impact on inflation. We have no ability to control that at our level. I agree with the comments that have been made. What we can do is communicate the pain that's being felt to those who do have an impact on that, and in hopes that they're able to sort of shift policies in the way that help the economy grow at a healthier pace. To the housing side, certainly supply is part of that, and to the degree we can streamline and make different ways for all different levels of housing and affordability, that can be a help to folks. But also, practically speaking, as member of councils as well, is that we can connect citizens, residents who are struggling with various things to the resources that are out there, because sometimes they're not necessarily familiar with them right off. Specific to the federal shutdown, I know multiple of us have shared, but on my blog as well, as sort of resources that those impacted by the federal government shutdown can reach out to for that type of support.
Thank you. And so our last question from the audience harkens back to previous responses from many of you. Throughout the conversation, and I'm sorry, we're starting with you, Ms. Clark. Throughout the conversation, many of you have stated we need to make the community aware of a variety of different services offered by the city. What do you mean by that, and how would you support awareness initiatives?
Absolutely. What I mean by that is ensuring that residents are aware Not everyone is on social media, so meeting them where they are. Not all wards or neighborhoods may read the Laurel Independent or may see any of our digital boards. So I try to communicate with our communications department to let them know, especially for the Ward 2 side, because we have more transient individuals that are there that may not be from the Laurel area, so they may not even go to their mailbox as often, on how to communicate effectively with them so that they can be more included. In addition to that, as Councilmember Simmons said, I also have a newsletter myself, but I try to regularly, again, meet people where they are and communicate on social media, try to gather all the resources so they can find them in one area and news and information, because people only have so much time after they work and they're with their family. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, the same question.
Sure. When thinking about making people aware of the different services, I guess, what do we mean? There is a plethora of information available, right? So I think we just have to make sure that we're meeting people where they are. We have social media, we have a website, we have newsletter, we meet people in the community. So just making sure that the information that we do provide is carried out in numerous different ways so that we try to reach as many people as possible in many different ways as possible.
Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, and I think it's everybody communicating, and I think many of us have. For myself, I maintain a blog just as a way of being able to share the information, and which also a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and a weekly newsletter. The city obviously has its communication channels. You being here tonight, hearing some things and sharing them with your neighbor when they come up, or for those who are watching, etc. There's individuals who are enrolled in Laurel University to learn about what's possible. So I think it's neighbors helping neighbors. It's us putting the information out there. It's also folks just, when they run into a situation, reaching out to us, because yes, there is so much. Part of our role is to distill that down to what actually helps you in your situation. So never hesitate to just say, hey, is there something that helps me? This is what I'm experiencing. That's a big part of our role on council.
Thank you. And Mr. Smith.
Just as they all said, meeting people where they are. Okay, you got the news, you have social media, sometimes you have text blast. Of course, again, drawing crowds, drawing people together, drawing this community out, getting them to be cohesive and know one another and giving them the information there. That helps a lot. People show up for things they care about. Unfortunately, in most municipalities, most people just don't pay attention to their government. There's a few percentage of people voting or even showing up to a candidate forum. So you gotta meet people where they are. You gotta get something that's gonna draw them out. And when in doing that, if you have something, say, throughout the year, like a July 4th event, where we know a lot of people come out, our Main Street Festival, getting our information into people's hands. Having a moment where everyone has to calm down and listen and say, hey, these are the things that's going on, and have half of the year planned out or the whole year. Usually the calendar is already planned out, sending it out then and letting them know, hey, well, sign up for this and you'll get alerts. But just thinking outside the box and again, meeting people where they are.
Okay, we're going to move to our next question. We're going to start this time with Johnson. Ms. Johnson, it's your turn. How would you evaluate the city's current performance? Can you highlight its successes for the community and identify any pressing issues that remain unaddressed?
Okay, so the city's performance, that's my first 2 years on the job. I would say we're doing great, no. The city is, I think, doing a pretty good job, overall. And I'm sorry, you said the question, evaluate the city's performance.
Yes. Would you like for me to read it
yes,
again to you?
please.
Yes. How would you evaluate the city's current performance? Can you highlight its successes for the community and identify any pressing issues that remain unaddressed?
Okay, so the city's performance, like I was starting to say, I think, again, we're doing a great job. We had a mostly brand-new administration, and I think in light of that, we were learning to work together, to mesh together, to gel, and I think we did a pretty good job of moving forward these last 2 years. So that would be one highlight success that I would like to highlight, because we were all, like I said, pretty much new. in our jobs and what we were doing. And I think we did a pretty good job, and I'd like to continue doing that. Like I said, issues, just listening to the community and things that have come up. You know, we always talk about, you know, development and, like I said, the congestion that we clearly have come to learn more about tonight. So those are things that, you know, we can continue to work on as an administration, but just continuing to listen to the residents, hear what their needs are, and address them appropriately.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons, same question for you.
Yeah, and it's a very big picture question to evaluate the city's performance, so it's a great question too. I mean, when you think about it, what should a city do and are we doing it well? You know, the basics are, you know, is it safe? You know, is it clean? Is the infrastructure working? You know, the roads, the parks and rec, the green spaces, are the support services there? And I think on many of those fronts, we are doing pretty well. Not that there isn't room for improvement. You know, we talked about some of the roads and improvement. I think that is something that could improve. One of the areas I think could get additional attention is the economic development, and we've talked a little bit about that tonight. Currently now we're sort of at a half staff, and so I think our strategy in that area could be enhanced further at attracting investment, encouraging businesses, et cetera. One last point is we're in a decently strong financial position, so we'll mention that one as a positive.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, can you repeat the question for me?
Sure. How would you evaluate the city's current performance? Can you highlight its successes for the community and identify any pressing issues that remain unaddressed?
Well, the city is a well-oiled machine, in my opinion. So I would say they're doing okay, but of course there's room for improvement. As he spoke on, economic development is a major proponent I think we need to focus on. Again, our corridors, our shopping plazas, I've mentioned our Main Street, capitalizing on the MARC station. Public safety, we do well here. Our police do a good job, you know, and they do a good job trying to engage with the city and the citizens and even the people passing through, making people feel safe. Of course, there's room for improvement, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, to bring that knowledge I brought from the previous council, serving 4 years as your council president, and also being able to work with the current mayor because I am his former colleague and having that relationship to get things done with him and make sure the ship here is being steered right.
Thank you. And Ms. Clark?
Thank you for the question. You know, as your current council member, representative, and the current council president with my colleagues, I've had the opportunity to really work together. I love seeing that we do have affordable housing options. It's expensive to live in the DMV area, and if anyone can be able to plant a seed here, buy a home, and build a legacy, we want that. Number two, also finishing the master plan. That's a big deal, and we had the input from our residents, which is so valuable and important. Number three, enhancing, but also finishing the sustainability plan. I think that's important because our nature, we have wonderful nature in the city of Laurel, trails, walking areas, and we want to continue to have those. Some things that I would love to see be addressed, increasing the response and communication time with residents would be great. I think they're doing a good job, but we have staffing issues that we're looking to resolve. If you would like a job, please come and apply to the City of Laurel, and our police department is also looking for people as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're coming down the stretch, believe it or not, so we have a few remaining questions. We're going to start with this one with you, Ms. Johnson. What do you perceive as the primary challenges and opportunities for the City of Laurel over the upcoming 5 years?
And I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that one more
Sure.
time? I was laughing because I wasn't supposed to be next. I thought, Mr. Simmons?
Did I skip something? I've been doing good all night. I'm sorry. Did you get to respond to the last question?
I did first, yes.
Okay. And then we'll come back to you on the next one as well. Would you like for me to repeat that last question? So let me go back to my magic book here. How would you evaluate the city's current performance? Can you highlight its successes for the community and identify any pressing issues that remain unaddressed? Was that the question?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
I'm
think we all
sorry.
answered that one, uh-huh.
Oh, the primary challenges. You answered that the
Right.
first.
Yes, so the new question starts
Exam.
with me, I think. Is what we're at.
It takes a village.
It takes a village.
And it's a long night, yes.
Simmons, what do you perceive as the primary challenges and opportunities for the City of Laurel over the upcoming 5 years?
Not to beat a dead horse, but in my mind, that the developments that are going on around us, being able to make the compelling case for Laurel to be a good place to live, work, and play, and a big part of that being the economic sort of redevelopment and modernization of the city is really, in my mind, the challenge in the next 3, 5, 10 years. So being able to sort of anticipate, to sort of think big picture, to make the big bets where they need to be, I think is really what's going to position the city well. We have what we need, but we need to capitalize on it in order to be in a good place 5 to 10 years from now.
And Mr. Smith, same question.
Can you repeat it again?
Sure. What do you perceive as the primary challenges and opportunities for the city of Laurel over the upcoming 5 years?
Just as he said, economic development, not being left behind with the projects like Ontario going up, and of course, Anne Arundel working their way in Howard County. We want people to stay here and move here. Again, we have the mark I've mentioned before, people traveling through. They should be able to want to stop and say, hey, I'm going to walk up Main Street and enjoy how beautiful it is, because it looks like the Main Street in Annapolis, or it looks like King Street in Virginia. So again, I think our challenge is to work with the shopping plaza owners, the beautification of our Main Street, and making sure our infrastructure is up to date and our city's modernized, and making sure even our programming is meaningful and in more than a photo, but actually something people feel and remember. Making sure all that is happening at once so that our Main Street's not dusted and left behind when Conterra is up, and our shopping plazas aren't empty when Conterra is up. We want to make sure we're there and not left behind. So,
Ms. Clark?
Thank you. I think a couple of the primary challenges could possibly be the traffic impact on I-95, Route 1, our local roads. Want to make sure that we try to mitigate those as much as possible while welcoming new visitors and residents in, but also the environmental concerns that we have. Global impact is changing, and we want to make sure that we mitigate that as much as possible in advance and plan for it so that we can keep it away from here as much as possible. Also, making sure developments are including the community benefits. We want to grow, but we don't want to run anyone away. So just including that as well. Some opportunities, increasing support for small businesses. As I said, there are challenges right now with funding, financial, coming from the White House and the administration, and we want to be as secure as possible within the city of Laurel for our businesses. Improving Main Street, one small step at a time, even adding lighting would be amazing. I love the string lights, that's my favorite. And also including residents' input is very, very important. Thank you.
And now, Ms. Johnson, that question.
So some challenges I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. I guess it's kind of hard to plan, that far in advance. You have to have like a magic ball to kind of see what's going to happen. I don't think we would have imagined this furlough and this administration that we have now, but just being prepared for things like that, because we're working on a master plan that looks at the 10 years, but just having that foreshadowing, looking at past, allowing that to help shape the future. So just trying to get a full picture of what will be going for the next 5 years, because we are looking to grow. We're constantly building. So just making sure that we're preparing for the growth with our social programs, police, and things like that. The one opportunity that I really, really am looking forward to, and we mentioned before, just preparing for the Preakness. I think that will give the nation an eye into Laurel, and we can make a big impact there. So I just hope that we take full advantage of that.
Thank you. And so we have our last two questions coming up. And so we're going to start with, for this question, we're going to start with you, Mr. Smith. How would you foster better collaboration between the mayor, city council, and local organizations to serve residents effectively?
I'd be the unifier, as I was before. I'd be that person, that liaison, that, a good leadership is not about position or title. It's about knowing your audience and the people you're working with. Their mindset, how they think, how they move, what ticks them, what gets them going. So I'd use my knowledge in that, my wisdom in that, because I am great at that. That's one thing I excel in. In using my relationship I have with the current mayor to communicate, even if maybe he doesn't want to communicate something. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm just saying maybe he didn't, to be the one to communicate or get him to, and make him see the bigger picture why. And again, I'm not speaking on a specific issue, I'm just saying in general. But definitely I hone on bringing people to the table and letting them see, hey man, take your personal feelings out of it. What is for the betterment of the city? How can we move it forward? How can we make this better? Are you making this more about you or making it about us? So I'd start there.
Thank you. Ms. Clark, same question.
Thank you for the question. I think it's pretty simple, just focusing on the people. At times, we may not agree, and it's happened, but let's just maintain decorum. Let's keep communication open, and let's remember why we ran in the first place, to help people, to represent for them, to advocate for them, and to be there when they need us. And so I always try to keep the lines of communication open, not only for the residents, but with my colleagues as well. Always communicating, whether we agree or not, trying to understand each other's perspective. And we may vote together, we may not, but it's for the good of the people. It's not for us, and it's not just while we're here, it's for the future as well. So I think communication is number one, respect is number two, but remembering that the people are the reason why we're here. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, same question.
Thank you. I think, learning, it's take time to develop relationships. You know, like I mentioned, we're a new administration trying to figure out one another's personalities and how to work together. So I think it does take time to develop those relationships. And like Ms. Clark mentioned, while we're doing that, just have open communication. Like I said, they're different personalities, they're different solutions and ways to handle things. But at the end of the day, the issue is how do we best serve the community. So making sure we continue to keep that at the forefront of our minds and to listen to other local organizations so that they can share with their issues or different things they may have. So having an open ear, listening, and learning to work together.
Thank you. And Mr. Simmons, same question.
Yeah, and similar themes, but, you know, collaboration takes time and it takes commitment. You know, as a member of council, you have your full-time job. You're working your 40, your 50 hours a week, plus you're doing that. So it really means being committed to picking up that phone and calling a fellow council member, to, you know, meeting with the mayor, and talking about issues. And even when it is maybe a tough topic, to be able to talk with courtesy and respect. You understand that the issue is separate from the person. That takes practice, that takes skill, and it's something we can model. Your question was also to local residents as well, how to collaborate with local residents. It's very important to me that residents have information shared on a question, but also that their voice gets passed back through. Even tonight, there's notes I'm making to pass back through to that conversation. So anytime, I encourage folks to reach out.
And our final question before closing statements. And we're going to, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm on point. That was the last, got you. So this question, we're going to start with you, Ms. Clark. Voter participation in city elections remains low. How will you encourage higher turnout in November's election?
That's a great question, and it's something that I've been more focused on than just asking people to vote for me, right? I think it's important for our election and for any upcoming election for everyone to register to vote, but for them to also actually actively vote. Whether, I don't care if it's by ballot or in person, just please show up in some type of way. I think communicating and reminding people of those dates, because it can be confusing. There's times that we've helped people where they think that they're supposed to vote in the city of Laurel and they're up in Prince George's County, right? So clarifying that, reminding them, also allowing people to understand how they can get their identification, to double check if they're registered, to make sure that they updated their address. I know this as an election judge prior to me running. I can't be one now, but people get that confused. They don't know that they can vote on the same day if they register, right? But you have to do it in a certain way. So educating people, communicating, and reminding them that they have to come out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, same question.
Like, I literally want to go pick people up and bring them to the polls. And I have done it for senior residents, again, when I wasn't on the ballot. But I just want people to understand the importance of just making your votes heard. Like I said, this is a smaller election this time, but your vote matters. Being in here matters. Listening to what we have to say matters. Sharing with us what you think matters. So just trying my best to find ways to relay that message. And like I said, if possible, literally go pick people up and take them to the polls.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, great question. It's a tough nut to crack, and it's one that we've struggled with decades. It's around 7 or 9% voter participation rate for local elections, which is very small. You know, I think part of the answer may be from a lateral answer, which is to say building pride in the Laurel community. I really have loved to see over this last handful of years the emergence of the I Love Laurel shirts. You know, I was at the St. Mark's 5K last month, and somebody came up, hey, where can I get one of those too? Because I think if we build a sense of identity, a sense of community that people want to connect to, they're going to become more interested in being part of the city and more interested in voting. So that might contribute to helping increase voter turnout.
Thank you.
Of course, I've always said bringing people together. Bringing people together, meeting them where they are in things that they're interested in, and then getting that information to them. Educating. I do it when I go door to door now. I do it just when I talk to people. And even when I say, hey, if you're not voting for me, please just show up and vote. The numbers are low. You got, again, probably this time maybe 800 people deciding your fate. And that's not right. So if you want to see certain things done here, you're going to spend 2 years complaining, not necessarily about my opponent, because she's a good person, but just complaining about what's happening on in the city. And if you align with what I want to do or what I want to see happen here, then here's your chance. So again, educating people on, hey, this is how you want to get things done. This is the difference between me and this person. I don't see any bad people here, luckily. But again, you have your options, and then you can't complain if you sit out and then you let 800 people decide your fate.
Thank you. Well, we are now, that was the final question. We thank you for your responses and your responsiveness to these questions. And now we'll give you an opportunity for your closing statements. Each of you, you get 2 minutes to make your closing statements, and they will be timed again. And Bob is attentive, and he's on the job. And we're going to, and also during this time, there will be no rebuttals. Each candidate has the opportunity to make their statement without rebuttal. And so we're going to start on my right side as we started on my left. So we're going to start on our right side and give each of you 2 minutes to make your closing statements. And so with that, we're going to start with you, Ms. Clark.
Thank you. And thank you to the Laurel Board of Trade again, the board members, for this opportunity to engage our residents. We don't always get to see everyone, and they don't always get to see us, but I know that they will see this, so thank you. I also want to thank the residents. Thank you for choosing to live in Laurel. Thank you for shopping locally. Thank you for voting for me in 2023. I am your advocate, I am your neighbor, and I am here to listen and to help. I was honored to serve you and represent you in 2023, 2024, and 2025, but I would love to do it again. Please remember to vote either early on November 1st or in person on November 4th. Be sure to register a youth or bring someone with you. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I would love to hear your concerns, your questions, your suggestions, because we cannot do this without you. Thank you for the opportunity this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I also want to, thank everyone for this opportunity, for giving us a chance to, share who we are, what we stand for, and listening to us for these 2.5 hours. But just thinking back, like 2 years, where did it go? It started off kind of slow. We were new at this thing, and I was new and scared. But now 2 years have passed, and we're here again, back where our journey has begun together. And honestly, I can say that I don't want it to end now. I want to make it clear that I want to continue serving you. Over the past couple of years, I hope you've gotten to know me a little better. You've seen that I bring a calm, understanding demeanor, one that values listening, respect, and collaboration. I believe everyone deserves to be heard, and that our strength as a community comes from embracing our differences while working together toward common goals. It has been an honor to engage in thoughtful conversations and share ideas and visions that will help shape Laurel's future. And I'm just getting started. So with your continued support and vote of confidence this November, I promise to keep showing up, working hard, and representing you with integrity and heart. And I won't let you down. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to express appreciation for the ability to be here tonight, but also to have served you over these last 14 months. It really, for me, has truly been an honor. Again, I was a kid here, so it's almost feels full circle. Second, I want to express thanks for the folks who are here in person, the folks who are watching. You are engaging in this community. And I want to encourage, I've written an article before about Laurel is a community of communities. Being part of the Laurel government is certainly part of it. But what you do at your homeowners association, what you do at your church group, what you do at the nonprofit, what you do with your recreation clubs, you are building who Laurel is. You are what Laurel is. So we are really the foundation, in my opinion. The Laurel government is really the foundation on top of which you build Laurel. So I want to encourage you, even if it's just knocking on the neighbor's door this Christmas to bring them Christmas cookies to say hello because you haven't before, do that. Come out of your comfort zone to do that. Third, if you're for community and if you're interested to see the advancement of Laurel while retaining connection to our roots and someone who's going to listen when you call, please, I humbly ask to consider for your vote coming in the next couple of weeks here. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime. My campaign website is voteadrian4laurel.org, and the word "for" is spelled out. But that's what it's there for. Would love to be able to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I too would like to thank everyone for being here and for the opportunity to connect with all of you who are watching and here in person. I had the honor, of course, of serving as your councilman from 2019 to 2023. And of course, I chose not to run for re-election then because I chose to step up and run for mayor. Of course, the city spoke in, the people spoke, the 2,000 out of 30,000 of us that came out and voted my colleague. And so I couldn't choose to stay on the council at the time and run for mayor. You have to choose. So that is my reason for running for re-election. It's not out of not wanting to go away. I have more to give. I never wanted to leave. From balancing budgets to organizing events that people feel seen and heard to passing environmental legislation to, again, just connecting people, just leadership, bringing the unity, even when I had a pretty passionate council at the time. I ask that you come out and vote, even if not for me. Show up. Let's show that our city can show pride in our city. These elections matter. These council members you see here, they don't get paid nearly as much for the time they're spending. I'll do it with no pay. I'm asking you to come out and vote for me. I'm looking for your support. I'm looking for you guys at the polls. And I really just would love to serve, come back and continue serving this city. The city is somewhere I call home. I don't have a home back where I came from. My mom sold the house and gone. Here is home. So my daughter, she calls this home when she's with me. This is home. And I want to make this a home where everyone feels seen and heard. So if I can get your support, November 4th and of course November 1st, I humbly ask for your vote. And thank you for your time again.
Thank you all. And before I turn this over to Jason, I just want to add my thanks and appreciation for this opportunity to engage with you once again. And I think the civic process and our responsibility as citizens is one that we must take seriously. And so thank you for this opportunity to be a part of it. Jason?
Thank you, Pamela Hunter, for your outstanding contribution this evening. It was a long night, lots of questions, and you did a tremendous job, so thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates here. You did a great job this evening. There is really some tough questions coming up in November. I know there is the at-large seat is going to be hotly contested after this evening. A lot of great answers across the panel, and we really look forward to seeing the results. And it's very, very important to make sure you go out and vote. It's not too late to register to vote. And should pass along, Councilman Cole gave his regards for not being able to attend this evening in person. So we thank him, and there's plenty of opportunities to hear from him. You can check our social media, City of Laurel social media in general. There was a lot of questions asked about how to find out about activities and events. Laurel Board of Trade, we do a great job, right? We put a lot out there. Follow us, like us, share us, really help spread the word. So this replay is going to be on Laurel TV. It's available on Laurel TV's YouTube channel as well. and the City of Laurel's Facebook page is going to have it. So again, one final thank you to the tremendous Laurel TV team. They put on this great location here. We have new mics. We have plenty of mics this time. We have a lot of great tech, a lot of great editing, and look, they help connect the community with government in a way that can't be understated. So thank you very much, Laurel TV. And this concludes the 2025 City Council Candidates Forum. Thank you and good night. Great job.